Hello and welcome to Dance Teachers Academy. I am your host, Jose on the mic, and with me as always is the lovely May. How are you doing?
I am great, Jose. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. This turnaround, we are actually in Bradenton, Florida, enjoying the weather. It's kind of warm out.
Good friends, Anna and Andrew Smart.
We have our guest today is Andrew and Anna Smart with World Promotions, Inc.
Yes, among other things.
Among other things, yeah. We're going to get into
about.
all of that.
Yeah.
How are you two doing?
We're doing great. We're so glad you guys could come down to Florida.
Thank you for having us. I'm so excited to have you two on the podcast. I've known you two for a really long time, and we've enjoyed many parts of the world together.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We've had a lot of international experiences.
That's right.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
I didn't say international incidents.
That's right.
Well, there is an important thing there. There's an important distinction, yes.
But you two are really wonderful. You put on first-class events, treat everybody with such kindness. You have great character and integrity, and I really appreciate all that you have done. And yeah, so my first experience traveling with the two of you was Paris, Nice, Cannes, and Monte Carlo.
Yeah,
it was pretty special.
That was a decent trip.
Yeah,
that was a decent
really
trip.
excellent.
I'm not gonna lie.
That sounds like a hell of a trip. Are you kidding? That's like a bucket list thing.
You know when they say like go to your happy place, try to imagine somewhere. I'm like, easy, it's Ritz-Carlton Cannes. I was there. I opened up the French doors. I had the fruit on the table. I've been to my happy place before.
You must have been in my room. I had a room last
Wow.
I had my own room, which is even better.
Yeah,
It's funny you should mention that though, because really, honestly, I feel like that's kind of our profession is giving people a happy place. You know, creating a happy place for people.
Yeah.
And it really warms my heart to hear that somebody can go to one of those locations and think of that as their happy place.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of really, really nice feedback from people that say the same thing.
Wow.
Look, I'm just curious because world promotion. How many of these things do you put on a yearly basis?
Oh, my Lord. Me?
Yes.
Not very many.
The two of you. No, that would be
The two of you, yes.
The company,
Both.
It ranges anywhere from 12 to 15. You know, it depends.
Wow, really?
We average one a month. Yeah.
I was gonna say
we have 10 that are every year. They're annual events. They happen every year.
Yeah, I think what most people don't know is we do 10 or 12 competitions that dance teachers and studios and students come to or travel with, but we also do half a dozen corporate events.
Oh, wow.
That are private events that we do for corporate clients, Disney, and
Wow.
Nice. Well, so that's why we're here. I'm going to get you to brag about yourselves, and if you don't do that, I'll do it for you because I've been to many of your events. Well, we decided to do something really fun today, which was kind of a she said, he said, because the two of you work together on these events, and you are, first of all, you're a man and you're a woman, so it's going to be a different angle.
I think they call
There is that. There is that.
And the personalities are different, but God has a sense of humor, and He puts opposites together. We know this.
Well, yeah.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
So we're going to ladies first.
Okay.
Invite Anna to.
So I should be.
Okay. Yes.
We're just going to
I'm
invite
gonna
you to
ask
come
go
back.
To the
Sold.
soundproof booth in the back, if you don't mind,
Right.
sir.
Put the headphones on, listen to the music so you don't hear the answers.
La 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 la
I'll grab the
la.
phone.
Oh, that would be fantastic if you grab the phones.
That's right. So we are in your office here in Bradenton,
We are,
Florida.
yes. You're here in our physical space in Bradenton. And we've had an office here, well, not this, we've been here for about 10 years, but we have had an office based in the Sarasota, Bradenton area now for 28 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good little run.
It is. It is a good run.
Well, the first thing I want to talk about, Anna, is you are a world champion dancer.
Yes, that is true.
Yes, and I still hear people talk about your performance when you won the world championship.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, with Tom Slater. And so just the impact that routine had on a lot of people. They talk about your red skull cap that you had on, the outfit that you had on. Is that right?
Right, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And recently you won an award. Please tell me about that.
Yeah, actually, it's been a pretty good year for us. We just recently, I was awarded or I was inducted into the South American Hall of Fame by the Council Danza Argentina.
Wow.
So Andrew and I have
Very
worked
nice.
very, very hard to kind of bolster and help the dance community in South America, because for years we have loved traveling there. And we saw, we fell in love with tango. Obviously, as a dancer, you're pulled to Argentina, and we saw a huge opportunity there. There were people there that wanted dance board, or they wanted ballroom dancing. There were a few people teaching, but they didn't have really any support. So we
You said two of them were teaching at a
yeah,
squash.
there were three teachers there when we ran our first event, and
They didn't really have a studio.
they
right?
had no studio. And now there are, dozens of studios in the city and in the country, and it's really, South America itself is becoming very big for dance sport.
Wow. And so
How about that?
the award was called.
I was inducted to the Hall of Fame for my contribution for developing dance in South America.
That's kind of a
Andrew
big
and I
deal.
are
It is
kind
kind
of
of a big deal.
it is. Well, we're kind of known as, it's a kind of an inside joke, but they call us the godfather and fairy godmother of dance, because he's like kind of the stern one that kind of keeps people in line. Like if somebody, not keeps people in line, but he's the one that everybody goes to if they need advice. And I'm the one that they come to if they need something. So,
Yeah.
we kind of help things happen. We
Okay.
grease the machine, I guess
Yeah,
you would say.
yeah.
Right.
And so they look at us as godparents of dancing.
Which is a huge compliment in
It is, and
Hispanic
it was-
culture.
Yeah, it was a
Latin culture,
massive
absolutely.
Yeah.
compliment. Honestly, it was an
Yeah.
out of body experience for me. I don't even remember the night because
they-
it was a surprise. I didn't know it was happening, and I was in the middle of running the event. They were all in on it.
And all the dancers came to the floor and kind of did
Well,
a
yeah,
little,
the two of
flash
the
mob.
the dancers from Argentina did a flash mob, and then the dancers from Chile did a flash mob. So, and they just came out of nowhere, and it just, honestly, I
Isn't
was
that beautiful?
speechless.
Astounding.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was speechless.
Yeah, that's coming through.
So, it was a really special thing, and it was nice because I'm really happy sitting behind the computer. You know me. I had plenty of time in the spotlight, and I feel like now I want to kind of empower other people to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So for me, it was kind of like,
And you do empower people to be in the spotlight, because one of the things that you do, I know, is you go to Blackpool, I believe, and to the United States Championships to search out future stars
that's correct.
and bring them as performers to your event, right, for the finale
That's
of the
correct.
event. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, we do.
And you have an eye for.
We have both. Andrew and I take a lot of pride in that. We, number one, we're both dancers, so we come from a dance background. So our heart is originally in the dancing. We're not just organizers.
Right.
And I don't even like the word organizer, because it's so much more than that, and it's so much more than promoter. It's everything. You have to, it's the full package.
Yes.
But we both now. See, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Selecting dancers for
Oh
your
yeah,
shows.
absolutely. But we take a lot of pride in the fact that we know what we like.
Yeah.
And we know that there are politics, because obviously we were both competitors. So we know the politics of dancing, and we know it
Yes.
exists, and we know that
Yes.
it will always exist. So if there's something we can do, if we see a couple that maybe is not getting the marks that we feel they deserve, or maybe for
Not
some
being
reason
promoted
they're
as
being
much.
passed over,
Yeah.
or particularly if it's because they've made some kind of a personal stance and they're being,
I see.
we do our best to kind of take these couples under their wing to provide work for them, really. And a
Yeah.
lot of people say, well, how come all of a sudden the couples that you book all of a sudden start to win? I said, well, because they have money to take lessons now. It's not because we're whispering in their ear the secret of dancing. It's because now they have the money to go and
Sprinkle the
take the
dust on-
lessons and
Fairy
sprinkle.
godmother.
We're giving them the fairy dust to sprinkle all over
There you
the
go.
industry that will help warm the industry to them. So it is true. A lot of the couples that we book, do eventually come through, and they usually come through fairly quickly.
Yes.
As in, like
Yeah.
the last 5 national champions, they come through.
And I think
quickly.
you see something special about them, something special about their performance also, and something about their personality on the dance floor.
It kind of comes down to what we had talked about a little bit earlier about
Yeah.
Andrew's Richard Branson comment, that it's about good people. If I have a good feeling the first time they do a show for us,
Yeah.
if I have a good feeling about you, chances are you're going to do 5 shows for me that year. If I have a good feeling about you. And I'm really sorry for those of you that have only ever done one show for me. I'm really sorry for you right now. I apologize. I apologize. And I've actually been approached by a couple of them, and they've said, "How come you book some people 5 times, 6 times a year, and you only book me once?"
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Sometimes
I
it
mean-
has to do with, and I'm not going to put you on the spot with anyone, but sometimes it has to do with dependability.
It is a dependability issue, and
Yeah.
it's also just an issue of getting it. Understanding that that the reason why we're all there for the weekend. We're all there because we love to dance, and it's a positive experience, and everything should be positive. And you have to understand, I know this sounds crazy, and I tell this to couples, young couples, you never know who is in the elevator with you.
Right.
You never know who's in the
Yes.
elevator with you. So it has to do with your attitude from the moment you step outside of your room. If you want to complain in your room or whatever, that's
That
fine.
is
But the
so true.
second you step out of your hotel room, you need to be like, you are so happy to be there, and this is great. And talk to students, engage with teachers, make it seem like, hey, we're all in this together, rather than, you are so lucky that I'm even here. Which you
Right.
do get from some people.
Yeah.
But some of the world's greatest dancers are also the most humble.
That's true. That's
I'm
true.
pounding. Sorry.
She gets excited.
I
she
found out
pounds.
something about myself. I'm a pounder.
Yeah, you are a pounder.
But I found that to be true though. And when I was performing, I had a wonderful opportunity to perform at the Meyerson. And as a dancer, you don't get in Dallas, and you don't get a chance to do that very often because it's symphony centered.
Right.
Well, it was an opportunity for a fundraiser for the Dallas Symphony, so I had the opportunity to dance on that stage, and then also have musicians. Playing live.
Oh, having live music is
Oh my gosh, great.
incredible.
And these were amazing, wonderful musicians and great dancers that I had sort of selected a team to dance with me, kind of a group dance. Anyway, no attitude. There was these room full of excellent dancers, excellent musicians.
Yeah.
Hey, how can we help you? Hey, we're doing something with the music. Let us tell you it's X amount of measures, and then we're going to do the end. Does that make sense to you? Will that work for you? Do you need anything
Right.
else? Just really
There you go.
teaming together.
Sure.
Yeah. No, like,
Well,
Ew,
true
the dancers
artists,
are
really
here.
true artists don't need that pretense. I think that pretense comes from a fear of being found out that maybe they are not all
Exactly.
everyone says they are. So
Exactly.
I think if you're approachable, if you have that skill and you have confidence in it, why wouldn't you want to reach out?
Exactly.
Especially if you're coming together in a joint project.
Right.
Why would you not want to reach out to the musicians and,
Sure, why
and
not?
make sure, hey, we're all, like I said, it comes into that we're kind of all in this together.
Absolutely.
And the thing that disturbs me is some of the top couples have actually gone so far as to tell me, well, actually, my coach tells me that I shouldn't be around anybody, so we're not going to come down tonight to the cocktail party because we're not supposed to be around people. We need to be unapproachable.
What?
Okay, well, that's what you are to me now, unapproachable.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's a-
wow.
So
yeah.
That's the one and done.
and that's okay. And there's a style for that.
Sure.
No, I mean, go ahead. There is a time and a style for that, but that's just not what we offer at our events.
Right.
That's how they become a one and done.
It is. But they also become champions. But they're icy, if you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
Right.
Yes.
It's like at our show, I can't think of anybody that. Afterwards, everybody gets up and goes and talks to the couple.
Yeah.
And says, you were awesome. That was great. They're not
Yeah.
afraid to get out of their seats and approach these people. At
Right.
a lot of events, people would be terrified. They wouldn't even dream about
And
approaching
it's
one
true.
of the.
Some couples I approached, first of all, at your event, very approachable and gracious with compliments. And I'm just, I love that show. Well, thank you so much. But I know coming up to a couple, maybe it was about a year ago, not at your event, by the way, but anyway, someone else's event, and I wanted to compliment the lady, and I came up to her, and her back was turned, and I said, "Oh, excuse me, I want to, compliment your dancing." And
One of those.
she gave me this icy look. I'm like, it was really
Yes.
great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Right. Well, it's almost like
Wow.
it's almost like an attitude that they give you of like, well, that was implied, darling. You know, obviously you love
Or,
me. Obviously
Who
you
are
love me.
you?
I take that as a given. Yeah, you know, it's a humility, and it's a true passion for dance.
True
you know,
passion for dance,
If,
yes.
if they have the same heart that everybody in the room has, because I really feel like our clients, they kind of regulate themselves. You know, as you know, we're not part of any federation, or we're our own independent organization. You don't have to be a member of any organization, but you
Right.
certainly can be a member of an organization.
And that's okay. Yeah.
And that's fine. But, you know, it's more like a family atmosphere. I don't know how to describe it, except
Yes.
for, you know, they all kind
That's
of
actually a
sort
pretty good description right there.
They sort
Yeah.
themselves out.
Yes.
You know, we're a bit like a favela. You know, we have no police. We take care of it in the hood. You know, if somebody's a problem, then everybody is so. Everyone's their friend. You know, you look 3 tables down and you've made a new best friend a couple months ago.
Absolutely.
You don't want that person hurt. So if that person's got an issue,
Yeah, we're gonna
3
come
tables
down and
down
take
is
care of
going
it.
to take a look at
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? So I don't want to make it sound scary, but I'm just saying it's just more of a family atmosphere.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you two do things very special, and I like the heart you say about a dancer, which is if you have I feel a real passion for dance, you want to share it.
Of course.
Yeah,
Why
you want
wouldn't
to
you?
share it. And so the two of you and Andrew, do some really special things. And I'm wearing this necklace. I want to talk about it because this is something that they gave the participants in your competitions instead of a trophy, which is so great. So I have all these competitions, world promotions, events I've gone to with these, and it's really a special necklace to me. So the students get this instead of a trophy.
Yes.
Well, I have a wonderful student, Richard Newhouse, shout out.
Yes.
So he made sure his
Hey, Richard.
instructor got one too. And so, but this
He
is
was
such
so
a-
sweet. He
yeah.
would always call ahead of the event and say, "Oh, you know, we're coming this weekend. I want to make sure. Can I order an extra one for May?" And it's nice. I mean, the thing is for people that are really, this is their hobby, and it transcends hobby. Really, it
Yeah.
becomes a lifestyle.
Yes.
Sure.
You know, and you have so many trophies. You only have space for so many trophies. And trophies are nice. And they're
Trophies,
nice. Every
yes.
now and then it's nice to get an old school trophy.
It is.
Yeah. But
It's also nice to wear your trophies
but
around.
it is. It's nice to have something
I like
that
it.
you can wear.
Sure.
And then you can also talk about your dancing. You have something that you can share, and it's a conversation starter.
Sure.
It
People
is.
can see and honestly go, "Oh, that's beautiful," and say, "Oh, actually, I won it at a competition." You know, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I really love it. I really love it. And I do want to just mention the first trip that we went. I mentioned it earlier,
Yes.
the Paris, Cannes, Nice, and Monte Carlo. The kind of trips they do, just really little
Yeah.
extra special things. So we arrived in Paris, my student and I. We came to the Intercontinental Hotel in Paris, and they were waiting in the lobby with our keys. They had already checked us in.
There you go.
So little things like that after a long flight, that was wonderful. And of course, my happy place in Cannes.
Yes.
At
Well,
the
you've been
Ritz-Carlton.
on some good trips with us too.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
You did the Pearls of the Orient with us.
I didn't, but I did New York at
Oh, that was it.
Thanksgiving.
Oh,
That was wonderful, and the Macy's Day Parade and all that. So you do so many wonderful things, and you continue to do that with the award that you got, and talk about World Dance Arts Federation.
Yes, we have
For the children?
We have Andrew and I are on the board of a nonprofit that we started. Oh my gosh, probably. Wow, I don't know.
Long
15
time
years
ago?
Long time ago.
Long time ago,
We
yes.
started it when our girls were little because, strangely enough, Allie had to go to a Girl Scout dance, and it was like a daddy-daughter dance. I think she was maybe in first grade. So yeah, we're talking a long time ago. And
I like the way she said
he
it.
was the
Fucking
only
long time ago.
one that really knew how to do any kind of partner dancing. So all of a sudden, this little line formed to dance with
How
Allie's
cute.
dad, and Allie's like, "Yeah, but he's my partner
Oh,
for the
but
night."
that's my daddy.
And they're like, "But we want to dance with somebody that knows how to dance." So we just taught, like, I went back to the school that she was going to, and we taught like a little class. We danced and daughters. They had so much fun, and we said, this would be an awesome thing for kids to have because there really isn't anywhere to do this. So we started the nonprofit. We run programs in Title I public schools, so in schools that don't have a lot of arts funding.
And the name of it, did I get it
It's,
right?
yeah, it's the World Dance Arts Foundation. And we've been in different counties, in different states. Our biggest stronghold is here in Florida, in Collier County. We're still very active there. At 15 years later, we're still really active there. We've taught over 40,000 students in Collier County.
Wow.
So
That is
there
cool.
There are entire generations of kids growing up in the Naples area where everybody knows how to dance. So wherever you go out, and in a strange kind of turn of events, there's also 6 or 7 places in that community where you can go out any night of the week and hear live music and dance. Because
So it really supports the community,
It's kind of
right?
an acceptable thing. It's become something that your kids do, and now your grandparents talk about it, and now the parents want to get involved, and it's kind of sandwiching the adult
Yeah,
community in.
Interesting.
Bringing the
So-
generations together.
Yeah, absolutely. And
That's
it's
nice.
it's really and it's mainly successful there because of people. Once again, everything it comes back to people. It's
Yeah.
because we have incredible supporters there, people that really believe in the program, that support it financially, and then the most amazing program director, Molly Cook. She's our classrooms coordinator for Collier County, and
Oh, wow.
she's like everything rolled into one. Cheerleader, you know, mob boss, everything. She's just awesome. Because she has, like, in middle school, she'll have 4 PE classes at one time, so she's got 100 7th graders.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have to
right.
be a bit of a mob boss to
Yeah.
Sure.
control that.
7th graders.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, don't worry about the fear of God. It's me you see every day. Yeah, I know that one.
But no, it's been really good. So yeah, I'm really happy. You know, we also feel like we want to give something back. This industry has been really, really good to us. So you know, it's our way of giving something back. And we have always given free entries to youth. So kids dance for free at our competitions, and we also run one event a year that is absolutely completely free for kids. I mean, 100%. They don't even have to buy a ticket to come in the door.
Is that in Orlando?
That's the one in Orlando. It's the Orlando Ballroom Blitz, and
That happens in November.
it is. It's in November. It's coming up, and it's a fantastic event because we have some high level competitors that join us from like New York and Texas and California. But we also get a huge percentage. I'd say over 50% of the kids are at their very first competition. They've come through the schools program.
So
So
exciting.
That
they
is
get a
really,
chance
really cool.
to come. Some of them don't even necessarily have dance shoes yet, but they come and, like, for instance, we have Dennis Drozdick and Antonina Scobina doing the show in Orlando. So they get to come, dance with all these people, be in a team match with kids that are like in the top of the nation, and then see a show, you know, somebody that they watched on World of Dance, and then they're in the room with them, you know. So
Yes.
for them, it is just
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
you know.
And
Rock
a
star.
part-
Yeah,
rock stars,
absolutely.
right? Part of the foundation is to also provide costuming for.
Yes, we also have a dress bank, and what happens is people are able to donate their dresses to us when they're finished with it. And then we have a big haul of dresses here, and the kids come and borrow dresses. They check dresses out; it's completely free, and
Man,
they
you
wear them
guys-
at the competition, and they bring
You
them
guys
back.
really have some stuff going on.
Yeah, so it's you know, we want to make it possible for these kids and give them something, give them a goal. You know, if you've been taking lessons for a long time, you know the difference between dancing in a cocktail dress and then putting a dance dress.
Oh, with all the
Just
Swarovski
the weight
stones.
of the stones,
Oh, yes.
the way the skirt
Girl,
sounds.
please. Yeah.
It just, yeah, and
Like, I'm a star.
for me, honestly, what a highlight of my week is when I know people are coming in, because you see them, you know, they put it on, they come out, they look at themselves in the mirror, and they, what? And then for me, I mean, honestly, the hair on my arms is standing up right now talking about it, because they find this kind of inner diva, and it's
I was about to
awesome
say
to
that.
like be there at the moment when she's revealed. You're just like, what? Yeah,
Yes,
it's awesome.
that is
it's
great.
awesome. I feel so lucky to do what I do.
We sure appreciate it very much. Now I think it might be time to hear from the other half.
Time to
What
bring the
does
other half
he
along.
have to say?
Paging Andrew Smart. I'll go get him.
Okay,
There we go.
that
He has
sounds
he
good.
has I don't know, a way of toning out the sound of my voice.
I saw him lurking around.
He was lurking around.
for you, sir. Andrew?
Do we want to just do him?
Okay, we're back. This time we are going to have a chance to speak with Andrew. How are you doing, sir?
Good. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Like I said, I'm really liking your office. This is quite the digs.
Yeah, we bought this building a long time ago, and then we finally moved
You
in.
bought this building?
We bought the building like 15, 20 years ago, and then
Okay.
we finally moved in 10 years ago.
Okay.
Anna did the design, and
You did a lot of the work too, right?
yeah, we did some of the work ourselves. But you know, we live more here than we do at the house. So
Try to make it,
Try
as
to
homey
make
as
it
possible.
livable, right?
Yes. You did a pretty good job.
thank you.
So what do you got going on these days?
Well, we're always busy. You know, we've got World Promotions, of course, is our day-to-day busy company. We started a new company a couple of years ago called the Global Dance Alliance, where we're
I wanted to ask about that.
Okay.
it's a conglomeration. It's for it's for independent dance studios that would like a support system. So the way we advertise it is, or we advertise, the way we market it is we tell them, think of a computer, the GDA, the Global Dance Alliance, we're the Intel inside the computer, we're the chip. We're not the Dell, we're not the HP, we're not the Apple, we're not the Acer, we're the chip inside that
That's
helps you to
interesting. That's
run.
good.
That's actually
Yeah.
a pretty good
So-
description.
Yeah, so we've got back office support, we've got software that, tracks students and does bookings and, all the things that a software system should do.
And why did you start that?
Well, because my experience was there's a lot of people out there that own their own studios and are struggling. They've got great intentions, they know the dance business, they're good dancers, but they didn't really know how to run a business. They went into the dance studio just as an option, but they don't understand employment, insurance. We've got lots of benefits for our members. And they would look at the franchise studios, the Fred Astaire and the Arthur Murray, the two big franchises in their own town, doing 10 times the business they were, and they couldn't understand why. And we understand why, because Fred Astaire's and Arthur Murray's are great companies and
Yes.
give a lot of support to their dance studio owners, but a lot of people didn't want to be part of a franchise. They were independent for a reason, because they wanted to be independent. So we formed this association, a conglomeration of dance studio owners, and we got the
It's
top.
worldwide.
Yeah, we got the top studio in Denmark is with us, the top studio in Germany is with us.
Okay.
We had 3 or 4 studios in South Africa who actually decided that it wasn't for them. They actually ended up joining Fred Astaire. So we think we did a pretty good sales job on needing support systems, right? and I think they're doing okay. They're good people. So yeah, it's interesting. We've got 20, 30 studios here, coast to coast.
Well, you are great support for a lot of people, but you are often in the middle of great controversy. So,
Well, you can't make an omelet if you don't break some eggs. I mean, it's kind of the way it works.
and so I did want to title this podcast "The Politics of Dancing," and there is politics in dancing. So, I know Jose had a question for you.
I did do what is NDCA is what I wanted to find out about. I tried to do some research before I got here. Didn't have the time, so I'm like, you know what? I'll just let Andrew hash
You
that.
have
here's
some
the-
controversy with the NDCA.
I think here's the good thing. I don't think there'll be any new dance federations because there's no letters left. WDSF, IDSF, WDC, WDCAL, NDCA. I mean, all the letters are gone, so we can't have any new ones.
It's one way to look at it.
I mean, here's no. I'm not going to form a new federation. Although we probably get a phone call a month, somebody calling me over unhappy with the structure and say you should form a new federation, and I have zero interest in that.
Gotcha.
So and actually, the NDCA has been around for a long time. I think there's probably some very good intentioned people in there.
Yes.
But I always say that there are probably a group of good people that have been hijacked by a cartel of terrorists.
Wow,
That's controversial.
You
Yeah.
think so? I don't think so. I mean, I think the NDCA is basically 3 or 4 people that.
There has been I am a member of the NDCA.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And of course,
How's that going for you?
well, as you know, if you're going to compete,
There we go.
if you're going to compete at one of their competitions, you have to be a member.
And what do
So-
you think of that?
That's very interesting that you say that. I don't think about it anymore because it really had been so much a part of what just happened. Some of the big competitions, the United States Championships, Emerald Ball, when I was, competing professionally, and that was it. That was the rules. You had to become a member.
And do you think you get value for your money?
Well, I feel like it's insurance, and that
There we
it's
go.
in place there for in case there's a problem, and that's how it was.
So
explained.
well, it's interesting because I know you're asking me, but you're really answering the questions. So you pay this insurance policy, and what are they going to do for you if you get sick? Do they give you money?
Well, not if you get sick, but my understanding is that.
Your understanding. Okay.
Oh my gosh! Hey, the two
The
of you are
interview
getting
turned.
I know, right?
No, it didn't turn, but you
So
see.
let me say this also too. If I have a student that wants to compete at an NDCA competition, I do have to be a member of the competition. So what I do, and I'm going
That
to
isn't
answer
the question. The
that's
question
right.
is,
I'm
what
going
do
to
you
answer
get
your
for the
question.
money?
Yeah, I'm going to answer your question. So my first, and I know you have this heart too. My first responsibility is to do a competition that my students would like to do. Oh, by the way, that's why I'm at your competitions all the time, because one of my top competitors prefers your competition to any other competition. As a matter of fact, he's your biggest salesperson.
All right.
So I
There you
feel
go.
like there's some really good quality dancers and organizers in that organization.
There are,
It was-
absolutely.
yeah, and it's my
Absolutely.
understanding that if for some reason something happens with, let's say I won a top teacher check, and if something happened with that check from that organizer, the NDCA would back me and support me to get my funds.
Oh, that's interesting. So, if an organizer in the
think.
NDCA, well, I'd like to see that in writing because I didn't know that existed. If they exist, that's fantastic. If an organizer defaults on a payment, an NDCA organizer defaults on a payment, then the NDCA are responsible for that. Is that your understanding?
I believe so. Is my understanding. I could be wrong.
That's
I need to
interesting
read the fine
because
print.
that's it. I tell you why that's interesting because I know 2 hotels that have been stiffed by NDCA organisers, and I'm sure they would love to know that there's a federation standing behind that contract.
Dun, dun, dun. Wow. Yeah.
Look,
well, you know
it's
a
like I
lot
said.
about
You know,
the inside.
but it's like I said. You know, I'm sure that the NDCA got great intentions. They've got
Yes.
great people, but I'm not too sure that as a body that they have a clear direction of what they're trying to do, other than perhaps protect their own business interests, which nobody can. You blame me for that. I mean, we're all trying to protect our own
Right.
business interests. My challenge with all of these federations is exactly the point that I was trying to drive you to.
Okay.
That I don't think they have a goal. I don't think they have a direction. And I think that as a national federation, your goal should be somehow to better the industry, which means we should be promoting to the general public more. We should be creating more students for dance studios or
Makes
for
sense.
teachers.
Sure.
We should be driving more people to dance more often, more competitions. Certainly, and Emma, you've known us for a long time.
Yes.
And have you ever heard us tell anybody not to go to a competition?
Never.
If you've told me, I'm going to an NDCA competition in Dallas, I would tell you must.
Yes.
If it's a local competition or a
Right.
competition your student wants to participate in, you have to go there. So I agree with you 100%. Whether you should pay a federation for the privilege of spending your money, I'm not too sure about that. That's a whole nother subject. Of course, NDCA organisers perhaps want to pay them because they feel they're getting some kind of protection or whatever. In fact, one time they did approach me, one of their officers approached me recently and said, "Don't you want our protection?" And I said, "Well, from who?" They said, "From us."
You're kidding.
I said, "No." I said, "That sounds a little bit like the mafia in New
Yeah, I
York
was
in
gonna say, that's,
1943, right?" So I don't really want to be protected from you, no. So, I mean, I just find that that's an incredible attitude that their business philosophy is, we believe in protectionism. And I believe that protectionism as a business philosophy doesn't work. I remember, and you guys may remember, when Toyota was going to come to America. and they were going to go open a factory in America, and the whole car workers in Detroit said, absolutely, we don't want these foreign companies. They're going to take jobs away from us, and they're going to destroy the car industry. And General Motors and Ford said, we don't want Toyota here, and they petitioned the government and they lobbied. And of course, eventually Toyota opened a plant here, several plants here.
Sure.
Today, Toyota employs more people than General Motors and Ford put together. In America, they pay more taxes than General Motors and
Yes, they
Ford
do.
put together in America.
Wow.
So, you know, protectionism as a business philosophy doesn't work. So really, I think that's what it comes down to. I don't really have any feelings one way or the other about individuals in the NDCA, but I strongly disagree with their business philosophies of protectionism. I'm for growth and openness and expansionism, and what can we do, not what we can't do.
Okay, gotcha.
As a general concept in business, you know, I'm encouraging people. Even now, you know, you're starting these podcasts, and the first thing when you told us is, that's great. Let's do it. Let's expand it. Let's get more people listening to about ballroom dancing and what's going on.
Sure.
So, you know, I want to encourage anybody to grow, not to be restricted. So I think that's the challenge with the NDCA, is that we just have completely opposite opinions on how businesses should expand.
And you're talking so much about the business side of dancing. I think that's really interesting and very important for even a new dance instructor to just really be aware of the business side. And do you think that's a big challenge for a lot of the dancers or instructors out
I
there?
think it's the only challenge.
Wow.
Because I think if you weren't artistic or creative or didn't have some physical ability, you wouldn't even be attracted to being a ballroom dance teacher or performer or competitor or in the business. I mean, you have to have some right brain. You have to have an artistic bent to even be attracted to the industry.
That's true.
So they already have that desire covered.
Yes.
What they never think about is, oh, now I have to somehow monetize this so I can pay my bills.
Yes.
And a lot of artistic people don't necessarily want to be really rich or you know, that's probably not money's not the only thing in life, right? So a lot of people don't do it for the money. They do it because they love it and they want to do well with it. But sooner or later, you got to monetize it.
That's right.
You got to pay the bills.
That's right.
You got to
Yeah.
pay the bills.
It's nice to dance, but
the landlord doesn't really understand.
Yeah, he
And
doesn't
you have to
understand.
deal with a lot of personalities at the events. I mean, we're talking about some really big business ideas and on the world front, but I've seen you know, call yourself on the cell phone to an instructor that needs to be at the ballroom to provide the service for the student that's there. I mean, just very like
But
hands-on.
Don't you think all big problems are just an accumulation of little things? So,
Yes.
you know, you
Very
may
much
need
so.
an army of people, but you need to handle those little things. And I think that's probably something that sets World Promotions as an organizer apart, that some of these organizers, their event gets big and good for them, and then as a consequence, they become remote. So you go to
Right.
some competitions, the organizer's absent, and then the little problems get handled by
Someone else.
someone else.
Yeah.
But they never really get handled because
Right.
the someone else it's not their living.
That's right.
And so you know, there's I think that to be successful in big business, you have to look at every little problem.
Yes. And
Maybe micromanage, and you know, certainly you got to learn to delegate a little bit. But
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's really nice that you have that touch, you and Anna, where you are handling situations yourself, and that's why the instructors and the students absolutely adore the two of you, because they know that you'll be there for them. Yeah,
Well,
I've seen like students
they-
just
they-
absolutely.
Well, I think that's
so grateful to you.
another thing. You know, I want to stick on this politics of dancing
Yes.
a little bit, and,
Okay,
and I'm
let's do
going to
it.
drive every question a little bit that way.
Yes.
Please do.
Because I think people are fascinated by it. I think a lot of people don't know the history, and I think, you know, that's a good thing. My father had a great saying. He said, you know, it's really important when you're driving that you keep your eyes on the road ahead,
Yes.
but occasionally you've got to look in the rearview mirror. So if you don't know how we arrived at the situation we're in, it's awfully hard to fix the future, right? So
Right.
you got to know the history a little bit too. And unfortunately, I know the history of the NDCA and the history of some of those people, and you know they can't fool me about their importance when I know that they grew up just the same as all of us, struggling along and doing their thing. They just chose that direction. So the issue with the dance teachers is that all of them have an obligation to make money and be successful. Otherwise, they're going to provide unfulfilled services to their customers. So that's why it's a business. Because if we have a dance teacher in, pick any city, Los Angeles, and they get a brand new client, and the client's really excited, and the client buys 10 or 20 dance lessons from them, and then the teacher spends the money, and they can't service the lessons, and the student doesn't get what they paid for. It's bad for the business, it's bad for the teacher, it's bad for the student, it's bad for everybody. So
Sure.
they need to understand the business aspect of the dance business. You were lucky, Emma, because even though I'm sure not every day at the people you worked for was a joy, but you'd certainly learned a lot from those people.
I learned a lot from everybody, and I had more good than bad, and that's
Right.
where my heart is, and to pass that
Right,
along.
and you
for
started
sure.
with Fred Astaire, right?
It's so interesting. I actually started with Arthur Murray.
Oh, okay. Where was that?
It was in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Um,
Was that with Terry?
Not with Terry, so it was actually in Palos Verdes, which
Okay.
is it's part of Los Angeles, but that's a very big city. I don't even remember the owner of that, Arthur Murray, but this is exactly what happened. It's an interesting story. I've talked about it, but not on the podcast. Started with Arthur Murray, started in the training class, so excited about dancing. 15 people started in my training class. I was the only one left.
Right.
They still weren't going to hire me because I was terrible.
That's all right. The other 14 were worthless.
And they were trying to get rid of me, and I would show up anyway. So finally, they're like, she's gonna stick around. So that owner, and I don't remember his name. There was managers that he had just brought these managers in from Illinois. That owner had just sold a bunch of lessons to a lot of students, and then left town.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was not to say bad thing about Arthur Murray, because Arthur Murray, of course, is a great organization.
It's just a one-off
It was that
bad apple.
It was a
One
bad
bad
apple,
apple, sure.
and it affects the business, like you said.
Right.
So then from there, the
And it's lucky you stuck around,
Yes.
because that could have been the
'Cause we
experience that drove you out of the business, and we would have lost a great teacher.
Oh, thank you, but yeah, absolutely. My desire was there. I mean, we literally came to a locked door from the leasing office. Those managers loved the students. Saw something about the staff. They decided to go ahead and take it on themselves. So then, I was with them for 2 years, and then got an opportunity to be at Fred Astaire New Orleans, where I really got great training.
Which at that time was the first or second top 2 or 3 schools
It was the
in
number
the
one.
organization.
It was the number one Fred Astaire in
Yeah.
the nation at that
Yeah.
time,
And that's where we met.
Yes, that's where we met, and the training there was amazing. So most of my training there, most of the people were amazing, like Victoria Sanders, Lisa Owens.
Linda Dean was there.
Linda Dean had just left, but she came in to coach. One of my first couple weeks there coaching, it was, Forrest Vance was coming in to coach. Just a who's who of Andrew Smart, Martin Blaney.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What a great guy.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah. And so you came in and do these great shows in New Orleans. That was wonderful because he would already have the music already prepared and cut. And then they would fit the dancers, the teacher and student, to the show, and then they would produce the whole show.
You could do that in a studio like that where they had probably 200 or 300 active students, and then it
Yes.
was like a casting call. You were casting for that song that
It was
was
so much
already
fun.
part of the show.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different in the smaller studios where they don't have the number of students to cast
Yeah.
a show like that.
Yeah.
That's a good
It
idea.
was just a different scenario. It was a big school, and
was
the
a big
training was
school.
fantastic.
The training was amazing. Yeah, every day we had training. So
That-
was
that's
so,
one of-
and I wish they had more of that. Yeah, and this
Well, that's
is,
what we're doing with the GDA. You know, we-
Global Dance Alliance.
Right.
Yeah, because there are teachers out there right now, which I don't approve of this, and I think really good instructors and really great people in the dance business will understand why, are out there teaching without knowing both the man's and ladies' part.
Well,
And that's just-
I think it's worse than that, Emma. I think it's worse or better than that. I mean, it depends how you look at it. I mean, here's the
It's
problem.
true.
You got a lot of first of all, one of the things, and this is one of my core things with federations, that the federations, there are a lot of teaching organizations in the world. The Imperial Society in
Right,
London,
yes.
I think, is the oldest.
Yes.
The IDTA, then the National came here. Then, there's some others here in the United States. Wayne started DeVita a number of years ago. And the goal, presumably, was to improve the quality of teachers,
Yes.
to give them a foundation. But there's still no regulation
That's
that
true.
dance teachers have to be qualified. I mean, you have to get a license in every city that I know of to be a hairdresser.
That's right.
A hairdresser, right? Well, the worst thing you could probably do is make somebody's hair the wrong colour or cut it too short. To be a dance teacher where you're dealing with people's physical and mental well-being, you don't need any license. So I personally think that should be one of the goals of these federations, NDCA, USA Dance, I don't know how many of them there are.
Or get them
but,
certified to
whatever
some degree.
letters there are, should be petitioning the government and the Department of Education, and should be working to create a national standard for dance teachers. And I'm talking about grassroots teachers. Of course, teachers come from Eastern Europe and they're very good dancers already, and they assume because they're a good dancer they're a good teacher, which of course is not necessarily,
Not necessarily true,
Or
for
they may
sure.
be highly specialized in one style, like international Latin or international ballroom, and the next thing they're thrown in teaching theatrical or American rhythm or
Right.
American smooth, and they really don't know anything about this. I mean, this is even true in the judging standards. You have a qualification for judging, and I mean, I would love to see a lot of these judges who are experts or champions in one style dance in another.
Yes, and you are a world champion.
I was.
Yes.
I don't like to talk about all that.
Yes,
That's
but,
the water under the bridge.
but you know about the dance,
Yeah,
the dancing, and I think at that time we had to know
everything, right?
all the stuff.
And when I came here, and actually my first experience in the United States, of course, was performing and going to competitions to do shows and lectures and training. But my first job here was at a Fred Astaire studio in Texas, and I remember the owner telling me day one, you're a good dancer at international style. The first thing you need to do is learn American and get qualified. So I had to spend 6 months like a trainee, like a beginner, with the other trainees in that studio until I got past the Fred Astaire American style exams through gold.
yeah.
And
yeah.
American style rhythm and smooth. And it was like not even a question for him. I wasn't qualified despite the fact I was a world champion dancer and thought I was great. It wasn't a question for him that I could teach anybody properly until I'd...
And how did you feel about that when he said you had?
I thought it was great, actually. I thought it was
Okay.
great. I didn't like the arrangement because he was a little bit more astute at business than I was back then. So he said that he would train me, he would have his dance director train me in American style for free. And all I had to do was coach all their students in international for free. So it wasn't such a great
I
arrangement.
see.
And
Somebody
not a
got a
good
better
trade.
end of that deal.
but it was a great learning curve. and it made me value American style, and actually it's a little bit annoying to me that so many European dancers come here today and poo-poo on the American style, but they're happy to be in America, right?
Yes.
And our business is built on American style. So I do think that international style gives you great training, and it's perhaps a little bit very strongly disciplined, and there's so many less steps, so your technique's much stronger. But American style's got so much going for it, and
It really does.
I absolutely spend a lot of my efforts with those people explaining why they're absolutely wrong, and that American style is certainly as beneficial as international style. And in fact, it's interesting because with the GDA, our schools in Denmark and Germany are teaching 100% American style to all of their social dancers.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
There you
Okay.
go.
So they think it's actually a better style to teach to
Interesting.
social dancers, certainly
Yeah.
in the beginning when they want to feel that they're moving, or a husband can lead his wife a little bit easier, or whatever the situation is.
Okay.
Yeah, and all the styles are great, but the thing that American style does have as an advantage especially for social dancers, is that the man's and ladies' part mirror each other.
Right.
Especially with, let's say, cha-cha and rumba, whereas in an international style, it doesn't do that. That's a great style. Of course, you can do it socially, but when you have people that come in
No,
and
it's hard. It's hard to do international style socially. I mean, you need a big floor. I mean, not very many social dance halls
Yeah.
have very big floors, right?
But I definitely think that's one of the big advantages, don't you? About just it mirrors.
Absolutely.
You mirror each other.
I think that I think that just the important thing in the beginning is to impart the joy of dancing,
Yes.
and I think it's easier to do that when the man and lady are joined together, or the couples joined together, and you know, certainly I respect greatly the great teachers in American style as much as international style, and I agree with you that it is sad that some of these dancers or teachers stick to one style, don't respect the other styles, don't go out of their way to learn the other styles. I mean, this is another complaint of mine, of course, with the federations, that there's no ongoing training. You know, I'd like to say to these people that have been judging for 20 years, well, you know, you were a great dancer and you were obviously highly qualified. When did you last take a lesson?
That's interesting you said that, because some of the people we've had on the podcast, they have been competing and training, and now they're judging, and they still take lessons because they want to be current.
So do we. So do I.
Yeah. When
So
was
do I.
your last lesson?
2 weeks ago.
Cool.
Oh, there you go. You
Isn't
just
it
got
fun to
called.
be the student?
It's fun to learn something new, and actually what I like learning is how they teach. You know, as much as the
interesting.
knowledge,
Sure.
and there's always new knowledge, I love seeing how they teach, and certainly the style and the technique of teaching is changing,
Okay.
definitely.
How?
I would say that it's more of a communication than a dictatorship. You know, the
Yes.
old coaches, I think, used to say, this is the way it is, and you're going to do it like this, and today a coach will ask the question, how does that feel? What do you think about this? Do you like so-and-so? Should we try it like this? It's more of a question and answer situation
Sure.
instead
Trying
of
to
it's
figure out
my
how
way.
to best teach
Yeah, of course,
that
it
person.
depends. It depends on the level of the student, of course.
Yeah.
But
Still,
as
it's
a
like that you're
general,
getting some feedback.
so as a general concept, the frustrating things for me about the dance business are, it's not growing, it's not moving, and that drive has to come from the top, not from the bottom. So, we're constantly training. The GDA, we have a monthly video training. We have 4 live trainings a year. We just had one actually last week in Indianapolis, and it's real teacher training. I mean, real teacher training, receptionist training, front desk training, back office training, how to talk to people training, psychology training. We're bringing in guys that are talking about
stuff.
brand new things that are growing in the public schools, of the psychology of the student. If you don't understand the psychology of a child, you can't teach it. Not all children are the same.
True.
These are new techniques in just teaching in general, and we as teachers need to learn that.
Yes.
So you're right that teachers focus on their dancing, and they're convinced if they become a good dancer, they'll make a lot of money. But there's so much more to learn to be a good teacher.
Sure.
If you
And if you want to be a professional dancer, you have to be able to teach. They go hand in hand. So because
of course.
because even when you are, let's say, aiming for the world championship, you are training along the way. People want to know about your style, how you do what you do. So there's always teaching involved with a dance career, don't you agree?
Yeah, I do.
So you do have to be a good teacher.
I think you do. I think you have to learn how to teach. You have to learn how to communicate with people, and I think that's part of performing or competing as well, of course. But I also think that all of these dancers, these high-level dancers, should be given beginners.
Wow.
I mean, so many of these
That
people,
would be like-
they're
Wall
world
of
champions or
play.
the United States champions, and they say, yeah, I don't teach beginners, or I don't teach wedding couples. Well, then you can't teach. Because the greatest teacher is the one that can teach the guy on the street with 2 left feet.
Right.
You know, I love them because they take longer to learn. So my favorite students.
You have ulterior motives.
Yeah, they're my favorite students. They're going
Yeah,
to
there
definitely be
is.
with us longer.
I have colleagues that say, "Oh, I don't take wedding lessons."
Yeah,
and
I don't
I
teach beginners.
teach so many wedding lessons, and it is blowing up the wedding business and wedding lessons, and with the all the dance shows now, so it's so popular.
Well, you know, here's the other interesting thing, of course, is that, you know, going back, I'm going to keep turning this
Yes,
conversation back
please.
into the controversy of the federations. You know, years ago, the direction that a dancer could take was quite limited.
It's
I mean, what Anna and I did is quite unusual. You know, we came, we did the usual thing, performed. She taught for a chain studio. I coached. I bought a franchise with a chain studio, and later sold that. Started organising events, built World Promotions because we saw a market need for that company, and I think that market need still exists. By the way, even though everybody else thinks it's saturated, I think it's underpopulated with quality, overpopulated but not with quality. So, so interesting, right?
For dance events, for competitions.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, there's hundreds of them now, and there'll probably be thousands of them. I mean, they're not going to stop growing; they're going to keep growing. But that doesn't mean, you know,
The quality's there.
the quality is there, right?
It's watered
There's hundreds
down.
of computer companies, but there's only one Apple, right? There's only one
that's right.
Microsoft.
That's right. That's
So
right.
there's hundreds of competitors, and the market's limitless for people that are going to buy laptops, but they're not scratching Apple's business.
True.
And I lost my train of thought now.
Still banging away at the federations.
No.
And the
Well,
table.
And the table.
I don't like that. I don't like to think that I'm banging away at them. What I'd like to do is hopefully enough people will hear this that they will agree that you know we
Well, so-
need to try to convince them. It may be hard because sometimes you know it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks.
Yeah,
right?
something like that.
But some enough people can convince these federations that they're focused on the wrong things instead of control and protectionism and suppression. We need to open them up to some young ideas. You know,
And it is
they need a
important
board of
to-
young, dynamic people
Oh, yeah.
that
It's
can see
important
the
to
future.
get some new.
You know, Nick Kosovich. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Nick Kosovich, you know, he called me because he just wanted to make a run and try to become an officer of the NDCA. Of course, I think everybody felt from the beginning, you know, he had no hope. But I do respect him for trying. At least it's time for some new blood. And, you know, he's a younger guy. I don't know, you know, mentally whether he had a plan or not. I couldn't really figure that out. I talked to him a few times. Couldn't really get much of a plan from him. But other than hearing he had a plan, but it wasn't really very lucid on what that plan was to me.
Sounds like our president.
But and I'm controversial, right?
This is politics. Oh,
This
of
is,
dancing.
this is the politics of dancing.
Well, you know, that's really the saddest thing, actually, Emma, is when you introduce a podcast or you want to talk to me about the politics of dancing, that subject shouldn't even exist. You know, the business of the dance business should exist.
Yes.
But the fact that we have to say there's politics, and I'm not talking about this stupidity of judging politics. I mean, to me, this is just so trite. It's ridiculous that people have to take lessons from a certain person, so that person marks them in a dance competition is just beyond the joke. You know, that's just stupid. And I don't know who I feel more sorry for in that situation, the couple that has to spend their hard-earned money to take the lesson to buy the mark, or the person that has to sell the mark to stay in business. You know, the whole thing is just so ridiculous. It's not even a discussion. It's just horrible, and clearly there's no future growth if that situation remains. I mean, that's just silly, isn't it?
Yes.
And they don't think it's silly. Of course, the people that set that system up, because they're the ones that set the system up and are running it, so they don't think it's silly. But everybody else looking at it from the outside is astounded. Jose, you came from a non-dance background, right?
That's correct.
So if I tell you, hey, listen, there's dance competitions and the people win money, so it's a professional sort of character, and if they win, they can do really well. But the people that judge are also the people that train them. you know, you'd look at that and say, well, that's a
Double-
goofy system.
Yeah,
right?
that is kind of a goofy system.
Right.
Like,
It'd be
wait a
like
minute,
the-
because then they're just going to be picking up on their kids. It's like, oh yeah, they dance better than you do.
Yeah.
How do you know? Because I trained them.
Yeah. Well, so even an outsider can see that that's a, you know, just got no future there, and it's been like that.
Isn't
for
that conflict
years.
of interest? It's
Yeah.
a complete
Right.
conflict.
So that politics is what people call the politics of dancing, and you know, to me that's just so ridiculous. It's beyond stupidity that system exists, and unfortunately the federation won't fix it because the federation created it.
Yeah, why vote yourself out of a job?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, that's the other problem with the NDCA. You want to come back to the NDCA? That's the other problem. You pay this subscription, right?
Yes.
So that's a tax, basically. I mean, you basically said you don't get very much for your money, in as many words. Right? You get the right to pay them. That's what you said you get.
Sure.
You pay them for the right to pay them to attend their events, right? But can you vote?
No.
No, so that's taxation without representation. So that's a problem for me. I just don't believe in that system. You know, I was a member of the NDCA for a number of years as well, and at that time you could vote. So, you know, when they took that away and said, you know, members have to pay a registrant fee, and you're not a member, you're a registrant, and just pay us but you can't vote or attend a meeting or even get the minutes to a meeting or know what's going on. I mean, I have no interest in that system.
Yeah, that isn't the system.
Well,
That's that's a dictatorship.
It's
Is what
bizarre.
it is. Yes.
It's bizarre. So it's bizarre, and they don't think it's bizarre. And
Again,
you
they're
know,
not going to vote themselves
They
out
don't
of a
like
job.
it that you question that.
I don't question it.
You
I
just
don't question it. I just don't want to be part of that. I
Gotcha.
don't want to play that game.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So,
that's
I
so
see that.
for me, it's just an issue that I don't understand why I would have to play it. And of course, I'd be more than happy to discuss with Anna about World Promotions events being NDCA registered if I could get a list of benefits. I mean, if I'm marketing something, I have to tell you what I'm selling you and what you're going to
True.
get for your money.
Sure.
True.
Tell me what I'm going to get for my money, and you know, we'll certainly consider that business proposition. But I mean, I've yet to see that proposition. So,
Yeah, you're paying for a black box. You have no idea what's in it.
well, they say, you know, I think one of the things they say is we get their protectionism from themselves. we get the right to use their judges, but they don't have any judges. They only have judges who chose to pay them to be part of them.
That's
they don't
true.
qualify judges per se. I don't
I
think
think
they
they do qualify them now. Yeah.
Oh, they do? They have an
to-
exam?
They have to be a part of had a judging exam, I believe, with the ISTD. Or
Yeah,
the
but that's
Imperial
not them.
Society. Well,
Because
that's
I
true.
have a judging exam with those people, so and I mean I can.
You're
I
bringing
can,
up some excellent points.
yeah, I mean I can be a
Andrew.
judge, qualified judge with one of the highly credible teaching associations, and I'm a judge. I mean I'm qualified, but now I can't judge a certain range of events that belong to the federation unless I pay them. So I have to pay to learn to judge, but I can't judge anything. So of course all the judges we use are qualified.
Very much so.
Of course.
Yeah. very
Or
much
world
so.
champions, or you know.
Yeah.
So I don't. I mean, I just think the system is dysfunctional somehow, and ignored. Ignored. I mean, it seems I get.
It seems like it's well, and again, I'm looking from the outside, and I have no clue what's really going on. But it looks like it's
Well,
just
if
a
you have no
status
clue
quo.
what's going on, you're on the inside because nothing anybody has a clue what's going on.
Oh.
You're join the club.
Yeah, join the club. Okay, yeah. I'm in it with everybody else. No,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
looks like it's just status quo. It's like, well, why aren't we
It
changing
is,
this?
and of course most
Because
teachers
it's just,
they just
this
want
is
to
how
make-
we did it, 50 years ago.
No,
And
it's
so, yeah,
actually
whatever.
it's actually even worse because 50 years ago there were more opportunities. 50 years ago it was still a growing business. Today it's a static business. You know, it's not really growing exponentially like it was 50 years ago. So 50 years ago, somebody like me, for example, wasn't 50 years ago, but somebody like me was a champion dancer. My coach or my coaches, when I turned professional, would say, "Oh, you know what? Why don't you go to Belgium to teach? I've got some friends in Belgium looking for somebody to teach, or Germany." They would give you work. They would give the up-and-coming professionals work. Today, none of those judges are giving up any of their work or any of their judging jobs to the young people coming up. So where do they go? These kids, study their whole life to become a champion dancer, and they spend a lot of money because they have to buy the marks, or because they're going to a coach that's that they believe in. It not necessarily to buy the marks, but they're going to the coaches they like, or they're buying a mark, or both, at the same coach sometimes. So that's okay. But they're in that box. They're in that really dysfunctional, difficult system. But eventually they win for whatever reason. So now they've spent 20 years trying to win, and now they win. Now what? Nobody's given them work. There is no coaching work where they can travel around and make the big money they were promised, but it's not there. Truly, it's not there. And so what do? Well, they start a dressmaking company, or they open a dance school, but they don't really know what they're doing. That's why the GDA exists.
Okay.
Or they join a franchise, Fred Astaire or Arthur Murray's, and use their systems, which will help them to become successful, I think, hopefully.
Right.
Or they become an independent dance teacher, but don't really know. One of the problems with independent dance teachers is, how do you get students?
Right.
They don't understand how to market themselves, or where to advertise, or how much they should spend on advertising and marketing to get a student body and to develop a student body. And then they have a problem. It's only so many hours in a week. So what if they get too many students? What do? They don't understand that advertising's finite. You can over market, and now you can't deliver the services because you're too busy. You're too booked.
Right.
So now you can't process the new student, what we call process the new student.
Yes.
And they're in trouble. Or the new trick, buy a competition.
The new trick.
The new trick, buy a competition. So now we've got a bunch of these champions who bought a competition and were promised, because by the seller of the competition or the thesis in the business, that because they were a champion, everybody knows them, their competition will be successful. Well, we know how that's going for most of them. We see the numbers, and most of them are limping along, trying to make a living, or having to go to one of their students to sponsor the competition so it becomes profitable, which is really sad. That's not much of a business plan.
Well, and it's really hard because sometimes that person that sponsors has a real love for dance, but doesn't really want to be bothered with the business side of it. It kind of takes the fun out of it.
It
Not for
can
all.
take the
not
fun
for
out
all.
of it, or they can sponsor and suddenly they're top student. So now we have another dysfunctional system where we've got students winning student prizes because they sponsor it, and they're top student, top bronze, top this, and they may deserve it. Or maybe it's because they're the sponsor and their teacher's running the competition,
Yeah.
right? And now we've got a problem when your student goes and he can't win. Right? So now we've got another dysfunctional system developing. So, I see all of these things, just mushrooming, and that's what I said. We're not really, we're obviously aware of our competition and we watch it carefully, but we're not over bothered, because we believe there's still lots of room for quality events that don't deal with any of that.
Right.
We don't deal with any of that dysfunctional stuff. Our ethics won't allow us to get involved with that.
That's right.
That's outstanding. It seems like we can sit here and talk about this all day, but I'm running
right.
out of tape.
we are.
Yes.
We want to
We're
invite
gonna-
Anna back.
We want to
Because
invite
there was one
Miss
last-
Anna back.
Yes, there was something that she wanted
She
to
had,
talk
But
about.
you're gonna
stop her working.
She can work later.
I'm back.
The star. There
And-
was something
the
that
star
you
is
wanted
back.
to talk about
I don't remember.
an award.
Oh, we were talking about the nonprofit, the foundation, our youth program. We actually received an award last year. We received the Jefferson Award for Public Service for the work that we do in the public schools,
Oh,
which was a really
nice.
nice thing. And also, Andrew's had awards too. I know we talked about my award, but he actually received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the British Dancers Federation for his
Wow.
grassroots.
Same thing.
Educating.
It's not in my
people.
business repertoire to talk about the past. That's my big criticism of everybody else. So I don't want to talk about
But
the past. Tomorrow.
congratulations.
Oh,
I want to talk
congratulations.
about tomorrow. How are we moving forward as an industry, as a
That
business?
is really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. But it is really nice. My mother always said you should applaud your successes.
Yeah, occasionally glance in the rearview mirror. Right? Let's
see?
focus on the road
Yeah,
ahead.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you never know who's
did.
going to keep up on you.
And it was really nice to focus on the road ahead with the two of you. Thank you so much for being
Yeah, that was
here
actually pretty good.
on Dance Teachers Academy podcast.
Of course. Did we get our diploma?
Well, actually, you'll get something
An
here in a
award.
second. Yeah, you will.
Wow.
All right.
Fantastic.
With
We'll put
that,
it in our trophy room.
Right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and thank you both for being on our show.
Thank you guys for
It was,
coming.
was wonderful.
All the way to Florida.
Yeah.
Yes.
And lovely MA, thank you.
Yes, amazing MA.
It's amazing,
Signing
MA.
out.
Emma, it's always
Say,
lovely to see you.
Always great to see you.
All right.
You're our favourite. Was that live?
That's on tape.
It's on tape now. All right, folks, thank you. This has been another episode of Dance Teachers Academy. Thank you for listening.